problem is that we're not
Blacks
telling
here in
the
this
kids
city have made a significant contribution.
in life than they ever have.
Welcome to Minority Focus. I'm Jimmie Moore. A lot of interesting things and places we have on the show for you. Got one for you today. Before we get to that, I'd like to make mention that if you have ideas about items you'd like to see talked about on the show, feel free to email us at email addresses that will be flashing on the screen as we speak, and I'll even offer mine, I think. We've got with us today Dora Lynn Warren, who is the administrator for Superior Nursing Care.
Director of Nursing.
Director of Nursing.
Yeah.
Did I get the Superior Nursing Care right?
Superior Care Home.
Care Home. Because one time I
Rehab
called it
center.
something,
Yeah.
and I got in trouble about it. You know, there are causes that people are about, and they're about it vocally. They speak, very highly about it, and they're interested in it and concerns. Very few people actually get about the business of doing something for it, either monetarily or physically. And Dora Lynn has done just that. And without further ado, I'm going to let her tell you about the happenings and her involvement in the Avon Walk for the American for breast cancer.
Yeah.
That occurred.
June the 3rd and 4th.
Oh, that's not right. Got this format I'm supposed to do. I remember from somewhere. How it happened. How did you get started in it? How did it all come about?
Okay, I'm an Oprah fan. Yay. Yay for Oprah. And in her magazine, in the old magazine, it was an article in there about the Avon Breast Cancer Walk. And from experiences from family and friends, I decided I can do this. And the walk was 40 miles, really, 2 days. And it was probably the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life, but it was the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life.
Right. I mean, even after reading about it, in the magazine and all, how did information as to how to do it or how you get into it and all, how did that come? Did you have to call, right?
Right. You have to call the Avon office in Chicago. That's the headquarters. And from there, my buddy was Amanda, and she sent me all the information by mail, and the directions, instructions, everything that you had to do in preparing yourself for such a walk if you're not used to walking. They sent me brochures, history about the Avon breast cancer walk, and from that, I took the information to my job, and this is something that is usually not done, but my boss, she was in 100% support of being part of the sponsorship of me to do the walk.
Right.
And so from that.
Now I know me, myself, and I, if I thought about doing a 40-mile walk, if I thought about doing it, I'd probably be in the obituary column the next day, just thinking about it. How did you prepare for such a thing?
Well, at work, at Superior, beginning January the 2nd, we have a program at the facility that's called the GEM, G-E-M program. And in that program, we decided to do the Biggest Losers. So in doing the Biggest Losers, getting your staff healthy to put in such a great work day, me being part of that, from January the 2nd, I have been walking 7 days a week, every day, to actually not to prepare myself for the breast cancer walk, because that wasn't in my thought process at that time. And I did not come across that article until it was probably the last of March, 1st of April.
Right.
And then from reading that magazine about this that was going on in Chicago, it's where, I continued to walk 7 days a week, early, sometimes in the afternoon, to really prepare myself.
But I would think whatever you were doing initially
Yeah.
didn't compare to what you had to do in order to get ready for this walk.
Well, it actually did help, because I was doing something else to get healthier with the walking. And then once focusing in on the breast cancer walk in Chicago, so what I decided was I was going to continue my walk, but increase my distances. So And that, you know, it takes a lot of discipline to do that.
I would
You
imagine.
know, and so, you know, I got up to 12 miles a day. I think the most I walked was 15 miles a day. And so in talking to a friend whose brother-in-law was, he's a therapist and he's a marathon runner. So he was telling me that if I can make it 15 miles,
Right.
then I can make it 40. He convinced me.
That's it. That seems like a pretty big gap there, 15
Yeah.
to 40. You know. Okay, so you got the information about it. You've made contacts and you've got sponsors.
Yes.
People sponsoring. Did that come about pretty good? Did you get good
Yes.
sponsorship?
Yeah, because as I said, my place of employment, they were in support 100%. And of course, in where I work, families are involved, residents are involved, as well as the staff. So it was 100% sponsorship. And you have to donate $1,800 for every walker. That's to each walker. So from that, and from my family, they was like 100% in support. And so them adding to the financial part of it, plus work, because we had fundraisers and different fundraisers to support this. And it just, you know, it turned out well. And, you know, we had the $1,800 and plus we donated from our facility as a whole was like $2,400.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes when people get involved in something like that, where they're dedicated to it, you know, if they're in a household, family situation, they tend to drag everybody in the house along with them. Everybody gets affected by their dedication to what they're doing. Is that the case where you live?
Yeah, but you know, it wasn't as exciting to them. They were kind of like, "Are you crazy?" But it was, you know, they were, you know, family was in support.
Right.
You know, they didn't walk with me, but they were in support of like, "Are you not going to walk today?" You know, it's like, "Oh yeah," you know. So it was good.
Chicago, Illinois. Made it there?
Yes.
And
Yes.
there were like, what, 25, 30 people maybe?
In the walk, it was 3,600 walkers, and that was the most they've ever had in the history of the Avon Walk. And we raised $8.2 million, and that was the most they've ever raised in the history of the Avon Walk.
What was it? How was it done? It's like, I've seen marathons, they go from point A to point B, or is it like around and around, like on a track or something? No, I know it wasn't a track there. You're walking in the city.
Right.
Right?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Like,
It was mapped out really well, or routed out really well. We started at Soldier Field, and I don't know how familiar you are with Chicago, but we started at Soldier Field, and it was an interesting walk. It takes 26 miles to do a marathon. And I got to see a lot of the scenery in Chicago. It was along Lakeshore Drive, and we were in Skokie, Illinois, which, not being familiar with Chicago, you know, the question was, where are we? Are we still in Chicago? And so we went to several areas. And it wasn't like walking just like around a track or walking around the city. And again, not being familiar with Chicago, it seemed like I was walking from Chicago to a little suburb town, you know, and around. So it was really interesting, and to do the complete walk, which you had 2 days for the walk. And the first day I chose to do, I said before I left work, left Paducah, that I was going to do 30 miles the first day, 9 the next day, piece of cake, or 10, you know, but, you know, it was, once I got past the 30 mark on the first day, I was like ready. You know, this is good.
I've never been involved with anything that involved 3,500?
3,600.
3,600 people all doing the same thing, the organization of it all. Wasn't chaotic, or? No,
actually it was, again, it's probably the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my whole life, you know. And when I got to the 20.5 mark, I was, you know, of course they were congratulating you, and you had so many supporters, you know, just for thanking you for being there. You know, my family, my mom can't walk, but thank you for walking for her, you know. And it was such a, it was so, at the opening ceremony, the stories that were told, it was so touching because these were real people. This wasn't just TV stuff, you know, these were real people with real concerns, you know, of experiencing breast cancer or knowing someone that had breast cancer, were survivors. So it was very touching, and it was very, you know, my thought might have started out, let me see if I can really do this, you know, let me take on this challenge. But then listening to the stories, it became more than just a walk. It became part of something that within that I would really want it to be a part of.
I know you said that it wasn't like television, but I imagine it was like television in that, you know, the scene where people are riding or running or whatever, and all these people are standing on the sides of the streets, you know, cheering them and passing out ham sandwiches and Kool-Aid, you know, as you pass by. Was it like that?
Yeah, we had children. It was, you know, because we went through, well, on the walking along the highway, which, you know, we were in safe areas and everything. You know, you had bystanders that were rooting us on, you know, as you walked by the side, you know, walking down the sidewalk, you know, people would give you high fives and, you know, just giving you water, you know, and it had children. We got into residential areas, and children had their lemonade stands for 25 cents, but to all the walkers it was free. Or they would just walk up to you and just give you a quick hug, you know, because it's not a competing. It's not like you're competing or to win or see who's going to win. It's just that you're making awareness. You're making the awareness of breast cancer to get the money for the research to bring about a cure for this particular concern. And there's many new things that have come about with medications from the research and everything that is available now that wasn't available probably 30 years ago, or, you know, there's more knowledge now. So it was all good. I mean, people were honking at you, and it was most rewarding.
Was it this a nationwide thing? Are people there from all over the nation?
Yes, because they have the Avon Walk, breast cancer walk, has in different cities. Like it was in Denver, or they were going to Denver after the Chicago walk. You walked in Boston, you know, and it was just, you know, to raise money, make awareness, and to be a part of that. You know.
So some of those people that were there in Chicago had walked in other places, or will walk in other places?
Yes, they had. In fact, you had teams. I was my team in the walking part, and of course, I had a volunteer from that worked as a volunteer. And you had the teams, and some people had like 4 people in their team, 5 people in their teams, or 10 or 2, or some were just walking themselves like me. And it was like in doing so, you were, you know, you got to meet different people, you know, because you would kind of migrate into the group, you know. And I was walking with a girl from New York for a little bit, and I passed her by, you know, but I just kind of got to talking to her, and she was from New York, and her mother had breast cancer, and she had walked in every walk until this year, and her mom's cancer returned, and so she felt like that, her mom felt like she couldn't walk, so her daughter was walking for her. So it was people from all over, from, I'm pretty sure I was the only one from Western Kentucky.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I was the only one, so.
But there might have been people there from Kentucky. But from everywhere, from every...
From all over, you know, all over. Some people walk in every city, you know, and it's just how important it is for them.
So you'll be packing up again pretty soon now, won't you?
Actually, next year, you know, I've been asked that question, would you do that again? And it would be yes. You know, when I got to the 20th mile marker, I was like, God, tell me, what am I doing here? You know, what am I doing? And so, you know, it was like this calmness that came over me, and it was like, you know, making a difference for people that you don't know, and for those people that I do know, you know. And I'm speaking of family, you know, those are, you know, my family, and to be walking such a distance, you know, is making a difference.
For sure. Day one, you finished how many miles?
It was over 35 by
And-
my pedometer.
And you didn't pass out.
And I did not pass out, but let me tell you, I loved my bathtub when I got to the
It's
hotel.
okay.
I did.
So day 2 was a breeze.
Day 2 was not such a difficult task. So for the 2 days, by my pedometer, it was 52.52 miles.
Well, you went 12
Yeah.
over there.
Yeah, but still, they tell me from the people that routed out the distances and everything, they said, "Oh no, you really did 39.8, which is 40 miles."
Right.
So,
Outside of the actual walk itself, were there times or occasions, either before or after, that there were gatherings, like speakers or?
yes, at the opening ceremony, and we were there at Soldier Field by 6:30. The opening ceremony started, and that's when you were introduced to many, many, many people. The people that had experiences with breast cancer, you had many, many survivors there, and the people that were up on the stage were sharing their life. You know, it was one lady that was, she was sharing that she was now 39, 7 years ago, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she was a survivor 7 years later. So, you know, that was pretty good. So we had the opening ceremony, and then, of course, at the end of the day, on the first day, they had it where they were totally taking care of you, because you had where you could get a massage, you could get like a pedicure, you know, just to yoga, just to get yourself relaxed and ready for the walk the next day. And you could camp out in the campground. And, you know, they fed you, and then you would just go to sleep by 10, lights out, and ready to move on.
I know you did not camp out on the campground.
Well, let me tell you. At the end of the walk, I thought, well, before the walk, I said, oh, yeah, that would be fun. But at the end of the walk, I thought, just let me get back to the hotel. But I did, you know, at the end of the walk, for the first day, I did go out and, you know, just to kind of look at because we had vendors set up, you know, different information. Doctors were there and specialists, oncologists were there just to educate, talk, you know, to let us know things that you should do, especially as women, with doing your breast check, and don't wait till you're 30 to do it, but start examining your breasts and that kind of thing. So it was a lot of things there available for you.
Right.
It really was.
And this all of the services that were provided were free. Of course, I know you didn't have to pay for anything. Was this all, like the doctors in particular, this all volunteer?
All
They
volunteer.
came to,
They were all volunteer, because with such a walk, a distance like that, and again, it was not like you were competing.
Right.
You were there to make an awareness. And so there were some people that could not walk that distance. They
Right.
might have walked a mile, they might have walked 2 miles.
Right.
And so, but every 2 miles you had a stop point that you could go, and if you had to go seek medical attention, or you had to stop and get, you know, hydration in drinking Gatorade or water, you know, they kept you, you know, because you had to keep your body very well hydrated. And all the people that were working behind the scenes, as far as the doctors and people like that, it was all voluntary.
did you get any blisters?
None.
Not a one?
Not one. Not one.
You were already ready
Not
for
one. I was, in fact, my staff was telling me that, because they were saying, actually they were so good, because they would call me. You couldn't talk on your cell phone while you were walking. You couldn't do that. But I had my cell phone in my pocket, and they were leaving me messages, and they were singing me songs and rooting me on, you know, once I was listening to it. And so when I got back, and then they at work, and they was asking me, well, how are your feet? Did your feet get sore? Did your feet get sore? And I said, well, actually, no. I said, never bothered me. Wow. And they said, well, what we did, we prayed for your feet. I said, well, why didn't you pray for my legs too? So it was all good. Yeah, I got no, and that was pretty good.
Yeah. You take any tally of weight loss or anything while you were going through the whole entire thing, from training in the beginning to back home from Chicago? Did you take any?
Yes, and from January to actually probably to the end, I had lost, it's been 28, 30 pounds. Inches I didn't measure.
Now we want to tell the viewing audience exactly what you weighed before you started.
That's some things you're going to ask a woman.
How'd they close it out? What was the closing part of it?
Of course, we had the closing ceremony was basically, because once all the walkers got in, the walk ended the second day at 3 o'clock. And so we were preparing for the ceremony, which was to begin at 4. So once the walkers came in, and of course you go ahead and get hydrated, rest a little bit, and then you would get ready, because we ended back at Soldier Field. And so then you were ready to cross the street, because they had like areas set up for the walkers. And as we did that, once we were all settled, you know, and ready for the ceremony, we marched across the street. Of course, they gave us our T-shirts, you know, for completing the walk. And as we went together, because you had survivors as part of the walkers, you had the crew member, and the crew members were the ones that were there to, at every stopping point, to root you on, make sure you got water, encouraging you, thanking you. I mean, it was totally awesome with that. And so we went across the street, and then the announcements were made, you know, it was completed, and the total for the total walk and how many walkers had completed the walk. And, you know, it was just really great. Of course, you had families there that were in support, and it was just really, really, really nice.
You remember of the 3,600 people that walked, approximately how many actually finished?
Probably finished it. The exact total, I'm not sure yet, and I'm still getting emails and I'm not sure about the total, but I know that all 3,600 did not complete the walk. But I would say probably at least 2,000 did.
Right. What was that money amount again that you raised for?
$8.2 million. $8.2 million, and 250,000 of it was sent to Carbondale, Illinois.
Close in the area here.
Yeah.
I'm somewhat surprised that until now there'd been no publicity. I know you're not the kind of person that seeks publicity.
Yeah.
But that no one knew about this, you know, either before or after. I know no one has talked to you about it since, I think, until now. Am I correct about it?
Right.
You know, because it's everywhere.
Right.
I mean, there's no particular area in the country where it's focused. It's everywhere, and I'm sure, as a matter of fact, I know there are problems in that area here. I have a very good friend that's getting ready to go through a problem with breast cancer and what have you. People not aware of it? Women don't care? I mean, you know, what's...
No, I don't think it's that. On the local level, because we have Relay for Life, and I think, you know, I know the publicity that is for Relay of Life has been tremendous, and I just think sometimes we don't focus on those things, you know, unless you're affected by it. You know, I don't think that women they just don't want to, you know, for myself, you know, you don't want to know. You want to know, but you don't want to know, so we toy with that. But I don't think it's that they don't care. I think everybody does. I think it's just that until you're actually sometimes faced with issues, you know, if it's presented to you in some manner from family or yourself or whoever, then your focus is more in that direction. And, you know, probably the majority of people, it's not, well, not to speak for the majority of people, but I think sometimes we think that if it's not me, then okay, it's not so serious yet, you know, and it's, you know, but we do need to, you know, be more aware, you know, and again, on the local level, we have Relay for Life, and that's, I'm thinking just ending, because I think they just finished a walk down there in Carlisle County, I believe. But it's a scary thought. You know, the C word is a scary thought, but we have to get past the fear and start the fight. You know, what can we do to make a difference?
And this is one of those things.
Yes.
You know, if funding is funding for the research to prevent or cure or treat or whatever.
Right.
May not measure up to what is needed.
Right.
So if you're raising millions of dollars by walking, then you're aiding, you're assisting in perhaps what might be one day your own treatment. You
Right.
You never really
That's
know.
Right. That's right.
It could easily exceed what the average person is able to pay treatment
Mm-hmm.
for that sort of thing. And they'll probably go into some of those areas, I would imagine.
It will.
For people who can't
Yes.
afford to
Yes.
take care of it. Maybe as a result of this show, more people will become interested in some of the walks that go on around the country, some of the long walks.
Yeah,
You know, Jimmie
yeah.
Moore should have been right out there behind you or beside you or something. Lord knows I need to do something. I was thinking when you were talking earlier, I said, I know what I'll do. When you were talking about giving massages and yoga and what have you, so I goes, yeah, I'm walking in here for the massage room. But maybe more
Yeah.
people will develop an interest in it. And next time you get ready to go somewhere, have a whole group of people go up and try. Me and Angela, my daughter, my youngest daughter, walked 12 miles once a long time ago for a cancer program. I never will forget, and that's probably why I've never done it again. You know, very proud of you. Very proud of you for that accomplishment, the physical aspect of it. I don't know if anybody in the family has ever done anything that strenuous. I don't think. Quite like that.
I don't think they have.
I know it's something that you enjoy doing and that you'll
Yeah.
always remember for as long as you live.
That
Every
is
time
for
you think
sure.
about a pain. Thanks so much, girl.
Ah.
Appreciate it.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Okay.
You know, maybe I'll get with you on the next one. Think about this thing. If it's something that you think you might be able to do, give it a shot. You know, and I might get out there with you. The Minority Focus, I'm Jimmie Moore.